What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the New York Sports Take. So fired up and thrilled to be here with you on this fine Tuesday evening. It is January 13th, and we have a very, very special episode in store for you today. I'm Matt O'Connor, your host, joined alongside the best co-host of the program. Oops, did I say it? No. They're all good. One of them's lurking in the background over there, too, Tim Fitzpatrick. But today we got Tommy on. There's Timmy. What's up, bro? Today we got Tom Fitzpatrick on, and he is here for one of the most special episodes of the New York Sports Take. I know the last time we recorded, it was a while ago, the night before Christmas Eve. It was December 23rd. But now we're back for the New York Sports New Year's resolution episode, where we will break down what every team of the four major sports in New York sports team needs going into 2026. How do we fix our New York sports teams? We're going to break it all down to a fine powder for you in the New York Sports Take. We're going to go run down the whole gamut. Baseball, Yankees and Mets, Knicks and Nets, Jets and Giants, Islanders and Rangers. We got all the resolutions for you. Myself and Tom are going to provide a unique resolution for each team and give a little explanation as to why. And let's have some fun. Tommy, you ready or what?
Fired up, man. This is going to be, I'm going to go on a limb and say this is going to be the best episode yet, man. Fired up.
Yes, and before we got on air just now, I was talking with you, and, I don't know, not that we get a ton of viewership now. We're trying to build it up and everything, and obviously we do a great job. But back in the original days of the New York Sports Take, like 3-4 years ago, I think I'm on like episode 14 or 15 of the relaunch now. But the OG New York Sports Take, we only got through like 6 or 7 episodes. I did that again. I swear, I am not doing that on purpose with the 6 or 7. I keep running into a wall with that, and I can't stand it. I should just ignore the fact. When I do it, I should just move on. I shouldn't even catch myself. It's not that big of a deal. But anywho, I just lost my train of thought after that. Oh, yes. The original New York Sports Take. We did this. It was the best episode we did. It was me and you, Tom, the two OGs. We gave our resolutions. Now we're a little bit more older. We're a little bit more seasoned. We're college students. Maybe a little bit more of an intelligent perspective at this point in time. So let's do it. Where do you want to lead off with? You want to go baseball, football?
Let's go baseball. Why not?
Let's go baseball, and we'll start off with my team, Tom. Obviously, you're a Mets fan. I'm a Yankees fan. Both teams have needs, and let's just say both teams' fan bases have been disappointed so far in the 2025/2026 off seasons. Starting with the Yankees specifically, though, I mean, Brian Cashman's practically been asleep at the wheel. It's well documented. Cody Bellinger has not been retained. They virtually haven't done anything since offering the qualifying offer of $22.5 million to Trent Grisham that he ends up picking up. That was obviously a big controversy amongst the fans. Should they have done it? Should they not have? We talked about it extensively here on this platform. Everybody talked about it everywhere, and make of that what you will. Everybody has their own take on that. But I think all Yankee fans can agree at this point in time that they have not done enough, that they need to augment the roster and make more additions going into the season, or we are going to once again fall short for the 17th straight year of lifting a World Series championship. Haven't done it since 2009. So, just to put it into words, the Yankees need to wake up. That is the resolution. As far as the on-the-field play is concerned, no determinations, Tom, I'll make on that end. But I know you're a Met fan, but I mean, it's kind of amazing that both of the... I don't want to blend the two together because each team is supposed to be getting their own unique resolution. But it's just amazing how quiet both of these teams have been. Two big market teams, two of the four biggest spending teams in baseball, totally asleep at the wheel. Brian Cashman's done nothing. He picked up another lefty scrub today. Hold on. I could find the name of the stiff that they got today. What a great signing. Oh, the Yankees are acquiring left-handed pitcher Ryan Weathers from the Marlins. So they're doing these BS margin moves that nobody cares about. And I'm not even asking for Kyle Tucker. I know that once Trent Grisham picked up the QO, as far as the Yankees go, Mets are a different story. Kyle Tucker was probably out of the equation right then and there for us. But they still need to do something, whether that be bringing back Bellinger, and there's been reports that that is probably not going to happen now, and the Yankees have turned their attention to there. Yanks got to wake up, Tom. What do you think? What's your resolution?
Yeah. I think you kind of hit the Yankees pretty spot on. Like, there's no other way to put it than, like you said, they have to wake up. It's like there's no excuses anymore. Like, we're not talking about a bottom feeder like MLB team. You're talking about, on paper, one of the best teams in the league. So, like, there's no excuse that you wouldn't make any moves. And I keep seeing the same pattern for both MLB teams, the Mets and Yankees, is especially the Mets, but both teams have high expectations. Like, these are both teams that have high expectations, and they're simply just not living up to it. So the New Year's resolution is to wake up now, because soon enough it'll be too late and we'll be sleeping while everybody else is in the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. And I saw the New York Post, who I gotta say, even for a young lad as myself, I came up with this idea not because I saw it on other platforms, or I saw journalism companies, The Athletic or the Post, publishing stories about the New York sports team's resolutions for the year. I just thought it'd be a good idea. And now, I'm not saying they took the idea from me too, it's just, I guess, common knowledge. I saw New York Post plus Sports do a resolution for all the teams. They also did the Liberty and the Red Bull, but we're not going to do that. We would not really follow that, so that's not what's we're gonna do. But they did all these teams and whatever. And what they put out, obviously, I read the Post. You could go check it out if you're a New York Post plus subscriber. If you're just a free member, you can't do it. You have to have the plus subscription. And obviously, I read it. I saw the resolutions. And they kind of were saying, let's not fire Aaron Boone. Let's not be chanting fire Aaron Boone when we reach this time of the June swoon, as they like to call it, which has perennially happened under Aaron Boone's tenure as the Yankees. Yankees usually do go into quite a bit of an extended slump in the summer months, spring/summer months, June and July. There's definitely been long rut periods for the Yankees. So let's preach patience. Last 2 years, they got out of the regular season with 94 wins. So let's, as a fan base, be cool, calm, and collected, and not be ready to smash the fire Aaron Boone button as early as June or July. That's what they said. I thought that was a good resolution, but just more in the immediate term, something has to happen with this team. And like I said, they are in a unique spot right now, because I do think, as Brian Cashman explicitly stated during the winter meetings, the intention was to bring back Cody Bellinger, who's a great contributor for the club last year, versatile. We know the numbers. We know what he meant to the team last year, but now they're kind of headed in a different direction with the expectation that he could go and sign elsewhere. Reportedly, the Yankees offered him a deal north of $30 million every year. The amount of years wasn't revealed, but let's say, for the sake of this dialogue, $30 million for 5 years, 4 or 5 years most likely. And apparently this is a guy that wants $37 million a year is what he's looking for at 7 years. And I'm sorry, I love Cody, but I know most of my fellow Yankee fans are on the same page with me in stating that he is just not worth that price point. He's not. That's more than Corey Seager. That's more than Lindor, AAV. At 7 years? No way I'm doing that. I'm not touching that. So we'll see how things shake out. Hopefully Bellinger doesn't get his asking price at 7 years, $37 million a year, and he hones it in a little bit. Him and the Yankees can work it out. Originally, a few weeks ago, they were saying that Bellinger wanted 7 years, and the Yankees camp was really only comfortable at 5. Now we're just kind of in this period where it looks like he's asking for way too much, and the Yankees are shifting in other directions, potentially going to get a free agent from the Blue Jays, the shortstop Bo Bichette. Now, they'd obviously have to shift some things in the infield around if they wanted to bring in Bichette, because he's a shortstop, but they would probably have him play second or third and either move Jazz Chisholm or Ryan McMahon. As far as how I feel about that, sure. If you can give Bichette a 7-year deal to become a cornerstone in the infield, plug him in at third, and get rid of Ryan McMahon, who's a mediocre at best player. Let's be honest about it, what it is at this point of his career. That wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. I'm be honest, I would probably like that, but it seems far-fetched. McMahon's still under team control this year. Who knows if the Blue Jays want to pick up that contract or you get a third team involved. So it's still complicated. We'll see how it shakes out. But yes, if they were to acquire Bichette, which I would like, Bichette has led the American League in hits 3 out of the past 4 years. He can rake. I would enjoy that. But if they were to do it, then there would also be another move that would predecess that one, such as moving McMahon or Jazz. So, yeah, I think that covers the Yankees, Tom. Let's move on to your Mets. I'll kind of let you have the floor on this. I had Drew Nadler on my last episode, and he absolutely teed off on Mets leadership and ownership, Stephen Cohen and David Stearns. I said Brian Cashman was asleep at the wheel. I don't even know how I would describe these guys off season so far, Tom. I guess you could say dead at the wheel, like not breathing. I mean, it's just ridiculous how bad it's been. Obviously, I haven't talked to you about this, so what's your take? Obviously, Alonso and Diaz gone, and what can they do to right the ship?
Yeah, a good word to sum up the Mets this season is practically in short terms is to let their studs leave and just fall asleep and go non-existent from there on forward. That's what it feels like so far, unfortunately. And like this isn't a team where it's not like you're in the bottom of the league when you're just tanking. Like you can't just let these good players go and not be aggressive for other studs. Like you can't, like picking up average players isn't going to do anything. You got to attack the studs. And I was listening to the WFAN today, and they were talking about how the Mets, like these guys, they never really sign these players for big contracts. It's always like 2 years or 3 years. And some of these like major MLB players, they want to get signed for major contracts. Like, and the Mets really haven't done that. And I think that that's a huge disadvantage of why players don't want to come there. And then you can see how like guys like, I personally think Diaz wanted out. And then Alonso obviously walked, and they seem happy. Like, it's just, I just don't think the Mets are going in the right direction. And for my New Year's resolution for them is to be aggressive. In one word, you have to be aggressive. You like a guy, you have to go after him. There's no more waiting around. You can't let your best hitter and then one of your best pitchers go and then not be aggressive. So in 2026, I really hope the Mets can be aggressive.
Yeah, it's a good take, man. Being aggressive down the stretch. We saw they were very unaggressive as far as retaining their own players, letting, you could argue, the two most valuable pieces to that team last year, Edwin Diaz and Pete Alonso. I mean, Pete Alonso, definitely the most prolific force in that lineup with all the power that he had. And he was the only guy, Tom, really, from start to finish last year. The offense for the Mets, as I talked about in a previous episode, it kind of goes under the radar as one of their biggest issues last year. Everybody always talked about how the relief pitching club, by the way, Islanders and Jets tied 3-3. Great game. I think it's in the second period. Just saw a score alert on my phone. Watch that after this, but sorry, probably shouldn't have done that. Yeah, it's just complicated because you let those guys go, and we're at the point of the offseason, Tom, where nothing is going to fully satisfy the Met fan. You lost your franchise player, your all-time leader in home runs, and the best closer in your franchise history, most likely. Mets have had a lot of good relievers over the years, more bad than good. But Edwin Diaz, I mean, you could pretty much slot him there as number one. So you lose two franchise players, even if you go get Tucker, who is the most marquee, highly sought-after free agent left in this crop, it's not going to completely satisfy the Met fans. So my resolution for them would just be provide a silver lining. At this point in time, do something to uplift your fans. Go get uncomfortable. That's what free agency is all about. I've heard Evan Roberts talk about this on The Fan and various other voices. You're never going to be happy with the price point of a free agent. You're always going to have to meddle with that a little bit. So get comfortable This could be another resolution, but my resolution is give your fans a silver lining. And if you're David Stearns, how do you do that? You get comfortable being a little uncomfortable. Go give Framber Valdez that 6-year deal. I know you don't like to give that kind of pitcher that many years, but go do it. Go out there and pay Kyle Tucker $400+ million. Maybe you do 2 out of 4 of these things. Go get one high priced pitcher on the market and then a Bellinger or a Tucker, but they have to do it. At least one. At least go get one of the high-priced pitchers, which at this point it's Valdez and Skubal. The trade, I don't think Skubal is going to get traded this offseason, or Bellinger or Tucker. One of the 4, maybe 2. No matter what they do, Tom, it can't completely. You're a Met fan. No matter what they do with it, they could get all 4 of these guys. Are you
And
going
no, not at all. 100%. No Met down so far. Nothing. It's big time, multiple times. What can we do about it now, though? Nothing. So now you gotta focus on the forward. You have to. There's no other way about it. Like, we can't control what we did in the past, and now you just gotta do everything right in the future, and hopefully it works out.
Yeah, exactly. It's going to be fascinating because it's just kind of been slow so far. I feel like I've been waiting on this Kyle Tucker domino to fall for a while. So
Yeah.
we'll see how that shakes out. I think it's going to happen pretty fast, and it's going to happen like bang, bang, bang. Bellinger will go, Tucker will go. I think Bellinger will probably sign first. Maybe Tucker's waiting last to see how everything shakes out. But yes, Cody Bellinger, lower your price point to it. We want you back. Why do you want How could you expect to get 7 years? You do realize that you were non-tendered, let go by the Los Angeles Dodgers not too long ago. And these teams, they're not just looking at your last season. You have to dig a little bit deeper than that. Look at the previous 4 or 5 seasons that the players put up on the back of the baseball card. So lower your price point. Let's make this happen. Let's get a deal done. But if that doesn't happen, let's pivot to Bichette. But don't completely fall asleep at the wheel, because right now, both the Mets and the Yankees rosters are simply not good enough to compete for a championship, and I think most fans are probably aware of that. All right, let's move on at this point in time. We've covered baseball. Tom, I want to save football for last. So let's talk a little bit about our New York Knicks right now. Listen, going into that Clippers game the other night, they lost 5 out of 6. Things definitely got ugly. Riding high around Christmas time, was on one of the longer winning streaks in the past couple of years, like a 10 or 11 game win streak. Things were looking up. Obviously, a tremendous win over the Cavaliers at home on Christmas Day. And we hit the skids a little bit there. 4-game losing streak, 5 out of the last 6. We blitzed by Detroit. In Detroit, 31-point loss there. But they right the ship a little bit. Their most recent game, nice comeback win against the Portland Trailblazers, who came in really hot. So Knicks looking better as of late. But Tom, what's your resolution? Obviously, our resolutions are probably going to be pertaining to what's going to elevate this team to championship level, and what happens in April in playoff basketball down the stretch. How did the Knicks get there?
I think most importantly, we have to stay healthy, because I've seen, like, in years past, even last year, the Knicks weren't healthy in the playoffs, and in my opinion, it cost them because we couldn't go to our bench. This year, we've been using our bench, and it's been a huge advantage to us. Talk about Christmas, Tyler Kolek came up huge. He wouldn't have probably even played if Mike Brown wasn't the coach. So we got to keep using our bench to our advantage, but the other side of that is we have to stay healthy, because even a guy like Josh Hart it just shows how important he is to the team. Like, we lost, 4 or 5 in a row. I guarantee you that doesn't happen if Josh Hart's on the game. He's not letting that happen. So I just hope we can continue to use our bench and be smart and just stay as healthy as possible. And the other thing is, for 2026, is to stick what's been working. If we have a few games off, I don't want to then become the Knicks from last year, where we start playing hero ball. You need to stick to what's been working by spreading the ball out, using your depth, and playing the way you know how to play. It's an 82-game season. You're not going to win every game. I don't want to panic from that losing streak. I want to trust your work and trust what's been working, and don't fall back to what our old problems were. That's what I want for 2026.
Yeah, I think I like the last part of what you said there about sticking to the formula, because I think that, listen, there's a time and a place for Jalen Brunson to take over a game. There's a reason why he was the clutch player of the year last year, because down the stretch, when the going gets tough and there's 2 minutes left, if there's anybody on the New York Knicks that you want in the ball in a one-on-one situation to take over, it's number 11. It's the point guard. It's the captain. It's JB. I mean, that is what he does best. He can single-handedly take over a game on the offensive side of the ball and put us over the edge. So, yes, hero ball in that sense is fine with me. We all know that is sort of like a secret sauce for the Knicks late in the games, Jalen Brunson taking over. But ball movement is so important, and that is part of this bigger picture right now. The proof is in the pudding. I think that I average around 280, 200, because you can't just look at assists. Sometimes assists can be demeaning or whatever. But I think they average around 280 to 290 assists per game. And in those games, their record is so exponentially better than when they don't meet that mark. When they're well below that mark, when they're sitting in the, I know it doesn't sound like that much of a difference versus 290, but when they're in the 250 to 260 range, you really, really see that record drop a lot as far as what they're able to do. The other night against the Clippers, 32 assists, everybody getting involved, Cat playing well, and that is such a big part of what they do. And then when they pass a lot, you see the box score looks a lot more even. They passed pretty well in Portland the other night, and all 5 starters, 18 points or more, Tom. You love to see that. They went on like a 20, those last 5 minutes were great. It was OG, 3 for the lead, get the ball back, OG from the same spot, another 3, turnover, Josh Hart doing his thing, getting down the court, and we could touch on Hart in just a second. He gets a turnover and a score, and then Deuce at 3. Great sequence down the stretch there, those last 5 minutes for the Knicks. You love to see all those players get involved, and when the three-point shooting is good, obviously that is a positive as well. But yes, I agree with you. Consistency in the box score, especially as far as passing goes. But let's touch on 2 more things for the Knicks, and then I'll just say my tagline resolution. One of them will lead into another. Let's talk about this defense, because it is alarming. It is a concern. Do you think that this can be solved internally? I think Mike Brown has implemented some principles that have worked and they haven't. It's just been up and down all year, Tom. Coming out of the gates, they really allowed way too many threes to opposing teams, particularly open looks. That was really bad. And then it kind of slowed down a little bit, and then during this skid, we saw the defense as a whole struggle. They tried changing things up. They tried going into a zone defense. That hasn't worked. But this base defense that Mike Brown has implemented, and I like Mike Brown, don't get me wrong, but this particular sort of defensive scheme, this base scheme, hasn't worked. Do you think that this can be solved internally through more time, or the Knicks have to trade? And for the Knicks, trading is very difficult because they're right at that second apron. They would have to dump off more salary than bring in any more salary. They could not bring in any more salary if they want to stay under that apron, which they have to. So does a trade need to be made or no?
I don't think so at this point in time, because I think the Knicks at their best, with everybody healthy, can beat anyone in the East at least. So I think a trade would do more harm than it would good for us, because I like a lot of what we're doing, and I feel like if we were to trade for one of those guys, it would screw up a lot of what we have already, because we'd have to give up. If we were making a big trade, we'd have to give up 2 or 3 big guys, which I don't see having more positive outcomes rather than negative outcomes. I think you got to ride with what we have and trust the process. And like you said, at the end of the game, Jalen Brunson will be our guy, and everybody else as well. I think you just got to trust them, man.
Yeah, I've seen some names get floated around. Alvarado, the guard from New Orleans. Now, if they could bring him in, I would be happy with that. His name has been connected to the Knicks for quite some time. Some other, I'm forgetting their names, some other dude from Toronto, and another player from, I want to say, Keelan something from Sacramento. He played for Mike Brown out in Sacramento. He's a wing, sort of a 3-and-D guy, but not really good in one-on-one basketball situations, which the Knicks struggle with. Offensively, team ball is important, but they don't have enough guys that can really pound the ball like Brunson in a one-on-one situation. So that's a concern. But yeah, just some quick hitters for you stats-wise, just to show this Knicks defense has definitely taken a hit. 28th over the last 10 games, bottom 10 in rim and three-point frequency. That's just not sustainable. I mean, you can get by having one of those detriments, either being bottom 10 in three-point frequency, but rim, and that pretty much is all-encompassing. That's taking away the mid-range shot, but teams are getting to the hole easily against the Knicks and getting up open threes against the Knicks. Bad combination that you have going there. That's only over the last 10 games. It's not the whole year, and I think these stats were as of like a game before the last one. So things definitely need to be cleaned up. As far as the defense goes, the point of attack has been the real difficult. Anunoby's better off the ball. Deuce and Michael Bridges, really known as point of attack defenders. They're a guy that you could go one-on-one with, and they're usually good at staying in front. But, Tom, they haven't really been that great in those situations this year, and that's just not Anunoby's thing.
I can't disagree with that, yeah.
So, I mean, this is more technical kind of stuff, but definitely we'll see if these Knicks assistant coaches can kind of get these guys to be more aggressive and be able to just man down one-on-one and dance with these guys. We'll see how that shakes out, but a lot of work still needs to be done if the New York Knicks are going to raise a real banner, not an NBA Cup banner. So, I mean, I pretty much said everything I have to say as far as a resolution. Fix the defense, and I'm fine not upgrading the roster. Just straighten up the D, man.
Trust what you have and play as a team and defend. That's it.
And James Dolan, Tom, I know you're a WFAN guy. We were upset about the breakup of our guys BT and Sal over there and everything. James Dolan spoke publicly for the first time in 3 years in a spot he had on the Fan a couple of weeks ago. It was last Monday, January 5th, the debut of the Craig Carton Show with Chris McMonagle. Good show so far. A lot of people are hating on it. I think it's good. I'm still pissed BT and Sal are gone. That's a whole nother conversation. James Dolan, first time speaking since he was on with Carton and Evan Roberts 3 years ago, and he pretty much said that this is the team. I saw that. He threw some adverbs out there indicating that this is the team and the team that he expects and that building expects to win a championship. So that's pretty much. Again, it's not out of the running. I mean, the trade deadline is February 5th. I'm sure Leon Rose will be on the phones, possibly exploring adding a guy like some of the names I mentioned, and Alvarado. That would be probably the most impactful thing they would do is go get Alvarado.
I think that would be a good move.
Yeah, I saw James Edwards of The Athletic. He put out Alvarado, and we send them Gershon Yabusele and 2 second-rounders. Now, I would do that in a heartbeat. I just don't know if that's enough compensation on the Pelicans' end for them to do it. Gershon struggled this year. Really, really has been bad. I would do that in a heartbeat. And then the Keelan guy from the Kings. I don't want another guy that's not a good point of attack defender. I'm sorry. We need a guy like a guy that can just man down and get the job done and keep a guy in front of him. So we'll see what they do. 3-and-D is always helpful. When we brought in Josh Hart here, that was kind of the way that he profiled from the Portland Trailblazers, like a 3-and-D guy. I remember that sentiment being thrown out around him. I would not call him that. I would just call him an energizer bunny.
I think he's a better slasher than shooter.
Player. Yeah. But yeah, any last thoughts about the Knicks before we move on to the other not so exciting basketball team in New York?
Honestly, I think we covered it pretty well.
Yeah. All right, Tom. Listen, the Brooklyn Nets. There's probably a lot of different directions that you could go here. I'll say this before I hand the mic off to you and say what you have to say. 10-20 record at New Year's. I'm not sure where they are now. Michael Porter Jr. is averaging around 25 points a game, 7 rebounds, and yet he's not even close to to being an all-star or being a high name on that ballot because the Brooklyn Nets are just so irrelevant. Even with that bevy of first-round picks that they had, it's been uninspiring basketball. They started the year on a really dreadful note. They've been playing better since the first 10 or 12 games of the season. But Tom, I don't know how much Nets basketball you've been tuned into. Danny Wolf looks like a nice player. Michael Porter Jr. For Brooklyn, I think February 5th is a much more important date for Brooklyn than the Knicks because all that they're going to be focused on is getting in a haul of assets for their current talent on the roster, that being Michael Porter Jr., potentially Nick Claxton, Cam Thomas, and the other guys like that. My resolution is get as much back as you can on February 5th as possible.
Yeah. I mean, it's a tough one. I mean, nobody was really going into the season thinking the Nets were going to make the playoffs. Like you said, it was really bad at the start of the season. It has gotten better. I saw them play a little bit the other night. Igor, he's been playing good. Porter's been good. Thomas has been good. I just think for them is don't worry always about, the wins and losses because realistically they're not making the playoffs. But if I'm that coach, I would just tell them to keep playing hard and give it everything you got. And for the coach, I would just keep giving everybody on the team a shot. Like, you're not making the playoffs, but just it's kind of a tough one because like for the resolution, I would really just say play together and really just like I know they're probably hearing a lot of stuff on social media and stuff, but I would just stay away from the social media and one day at a time get 1% better if they're on the Brooklyn Nets because you gotta think it's bad now, but in a few years it could get a lot better. Every single day, get 1% better in 2026.
Yeah, and I talked about how the New York Post puts out their resolutions for each and every team. And Ryan Dunleavy, the writer for the Post, his resolution for the Nets was a pretty funny one. I wasn't going to use the same one. But I think it was something along the lines of like, let's not turn off the games and completely tune them out, even though it's tempting. It's pretty damn hard for a New York-based team in this market, in this space, and how big sports are over here. Not where I am, but as a New Yorker, to have the second least nationally televised games in the sport. And that's what the Brooklyn Nets are. So you could throw that into, try and give yourself more attention if you're the Nets, but that's a pretty hard thing to do when the roster is as bereft of talent as it is. So, I mean, February 5th, like I said, big day for them. I'll be very interested to see what the market on Michael Porter Jr. is. I don't know. I would think it's a first-round pick, but I'm not sure it's any more than that. Maybe a first and like a third or fourth. I wouldn't even say a first and a second. What do you think? I mean, the guy averages 25 points a game, but he's also hauling up a ton of shots because there's not any like real.
He has been really good. He has been really good. I mean, probably a first and like a role player, or like maybe a first and a third.
Yeah, probably something around that. So we'll see. Interested to see the market around some of these other guys. I mentioned Nick Claxton. I'm missing another veteran on that team. He shot well against the Knicks, Tom. Do you remember? This was a few, not any young guys, not Igor, not Danny Wolf.
You're not talking about Cam Thomas, right?
Terrence Mann's another one.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about. I know
they're going to pretty much get rid of all the veterans over there. That I know.
Yeah. Yeah. But I guess one word for the Nets is just try to be competitive, to sum it up.
Yeah, and Jordi Fernandez, their head coach over there. I don't know if he makes it through this whole rebuild. As far as what the Nets do, I don't think they'll go in the direction of trying to make another mega trade and acquire stars.
No,
obviously
definitely
that fell pretty hard on its head with with the super trio that they brought in there, and Harden, Durant, and Kyrie.
Controversial.
I don't think they'll go in that. I hope that my point is I hope that Jordi Fernandez makes it through this full rebuild because I think he's a really good basketball coach and he is a direction for this team.
I agree.
And a lot of other coaches around the league put a lot of respect on his name. And you hear him talk, he sounds like a pretty smart guy. So
I agree.
All due respect to him for sure.
I agree.
All right, let's talk about hockey, Tom. I know you're not the biggest Pucks fan, but there needs to be a little bit of a dialogue around our New York Islanders right now. They are, I believe, second place in the Metropolitan right now. Much of it coming off the heels. I'm so happy we're finally talking hockey on this podcast. I don't think I've uttered one word about hockey. I'm a diehard Islanders
This is
fan.
history, man.
Yeah, Drew Nadler, he wants to bring some other guys on to talk puck, but we'll see whether or not that happens. But yes, we have to give resolutions to the Islanders and the Rangers. Right now, the Islanders, who have just battled so many injuries to one of their frontline players, one of their premier scorers, and Kyle Palmieri, tearing his Achilles, him going out for the season. Obviously, Alex Romanov also going out for virtually the whole season. It's 6 to 8 months, so maybe if we're in the Stanley Cup, he'll be back then. But he's on the shelf for a while. Palmieri out. Just battled a lot, and that all happened in a pretty condensed amount of time as well. And here the Islanders are, against all odds. Tom, expectations for this team going into the year were not very high, not much higher than they were last year. They were able to get younger in a lot of ways, but people did not expect to be where they are right now in a very cluttered Eastern Conference. All these teams are so close right now. I don't know how tuned in you've been with the Islanders this year, but my resolution, I'll say it right now, and we have another score update. Hold on. Okay. Oh, shit. And the last time I gave a score update, I got to stop waxing poetic about them, I guess. Winnipeg scored 2 goals. It's now 5-3 Jets. So that's not great. But it doesn't take away from the big picture kind of sentiment from this team right now. Except tonight, keep doing what you're doing. Keep winning close games. They've been excellent in overtime this year. They've had a few shootout wins. Elias Sorokin recently came back from injury. He's playing super well. So for the New York Islanders, Patrick Roy, keep doing what you're doing. Keep giving motivation to these players. Another thing with this team this year is they've had some tough losses. Okay, they right after the holiday break, as they call it, they came out, they struggled a little bit. They had some rough home losses. Then they bounced back. They never, to this point of the year, we're a little bit halfway through the year. At the halfway point, the Islanders were on pace for a 96-point season, which is pretty good and certainly enough to get you into the dance. And once you get into the dance, anything happen. But that's an aside. They haven't gotten into any extended slumps like we see this team do in the past, where they're losing 8 out of 9 and the wheels just completely falling off. And we'll talk about the Rangers in a little bit. That seems to be what's happening with them, as the wheels are completely falling off at the Garden for the Rangers, especially at the Garden. They're a terrible home team. But the Islanders have been able to right the ship anytime they hit on hard times. And Patrick Ross talked about it. I heard him say in an interview, and he also said it amongst the guys in like a meeting, a film room meeting with all the players in a big room, that a fan had come up to him at a restaurant and said, "One thing I love about your team is this next man up mentality. They never give up. Guys are always going in there, and you don't skip a beat. And congratulations to your team." So that's what I said. I echo whatever that man said in the restaurant, or woman, to Patrick Roy. Same thing. No matter what happens this year, whether we lose Bo Horvat for another few weeks, whether Ilya Sorokin goes back on the shelf, keep battling. Next man up. I know we have a pretty rough AHL squad, but keep doing what you're doing if you're the New York Islanders. What's your resolution?
Yeah, my resolution for the New York Islanders is to keep your foot on the pedal and to not let up. Because, like you're talking about, the Rangers were struggling. They let up a little bit, and then they started struggling, especially at home, like you said. So I need the Islanders to just keep the pedal on the gas and do not let up, because I do think that they have been playing some really good hockey, and they got to trust the guys. I mean, Matthew Schaefer has been unbelievable. I mean, I just to come in at that age and to dominate the league already is just he's a game changer.
He's
And
18, Tom.
he's younger than both of us, and he's dominating the NHL. I mean, that's just insane. So I think they just got to continue what they're doing, don't let up, and play New York Islander hockey.
Yeah, that's
Nice and simple.
exactly right. And a funny little side note story, and then we'll just briefly touch on the Rangers and then wrap up with the Jets and the Giants. I know you have a lot to say about our Jets, so we will definitely get to that. But there's a rule in the O'Connor household, and it's a pretty serious one. An unwritten rule, but a pretty serious sports-related unwritten rule. I don't know if you've ever heard me say this, Tom. But in the O'Connors, you don't wear a jersey of a player that's younger than you. My dad, longtime Yankee season ticket holder, lived through the glory days in the 90s, seen a lot of championships. He's a huge Aaron Judge fan, as we all are. He loves Aaron Judge. It's his favorite player on the current team. He watches just about most of the games. There's 162, so I can't say all of them. But he watches most of the games, and we love Aaron Judge. He would never in a million years consider putting on an Aaron Judge jersey because that's just not what you do. It's a little childish. You rooting for a kid that's freaking 2 generations younger than you, 30, 40 years younger than you. So that's not something that we do. And I also abide by that rule for the most part. But I'm 20 years old. Matthew Schaefer's 18. I had to make an exception. I know that it's not really I don't really have much of a valid excuse, but this kid is so phenomenal that he's worth breaking the rule for.
Wow.
I love him. He's an electric skater. His personality's on fire. The kid is just a simple 10 out of 10 hockey player. He's just ignited this franchise to another level. So I broke the rule, and yes, I own a Matthew Schaefer jersey. My mother was nice enough to buy it for me. It was waiting for me in my room when I got back for Thanksgiving break.
Wow.
And I wore it to a couple games over Christmas break. So very much enjoying that, and it broke a very long-standing, unwritten sports rule in the O'Connor household, Tom. So that's my Schaefer story.
Wow.
And pretty cool, right?
I didn't know about that rule. I mean, that just shows how freaking talented it is that you couldn't resist buying or, wearing that jersey.
Yeah, exactly. To give everybody, and we'll talk about the Rangers now too on this note, Metropolitan Division standings as of January 13th at 10 p.m. Islanders not looking good tonight. So every game very much matters in the standings because the standings are so cluttered, as I mentioned. Carolina sitting in first place. They're definitely the gold standard right now in the Metro. They have 60 points. Islanders in second at 55 points in the Metropolitan. And the Washington Capitals just 1 point behind us at third. But then you look at the wild card, Tom, and the teams are not really too far behind on that tune. I mean, put it this way, the New York Rangers have 46 points, and they are in last place in the Metropolitan. Not even double digits, not even 10 points less than where the Islanders are right now. And they are at the bottom of they're at the bottom not of just the Metro, the Eastern Conference. They are the last place team. So while there are no juggernauts this year, even Carolina's not that. I don't think they're unbeatable. Even Carolina, not a juggernaut, but there's certainly no laughingstock bottom feeders. I know the Rangers have struggled and have been well below expectations for first-year coach Mike Sullivan, but still, every game matters. I mean, it feels like we're going down in crunch time, 2 weeks left in the season, even though there's a few months left in the NHL. Because these standings are so bunched. Gotta love that. Love the parity in all sports. We see it in the NFL this year with the playoff bracket. It's the same way right now, just a little bit over halfway in regular season hockey. All right, Rangers, I know your hockey knowledge is limited and you're an Islanders fan, so I couldn't really imagine what you have to say about the Rangers, but like I said, they're in last place right now in the Eastern Conference. Something needs to change. There's still a lot of talent on that roster with Artemi Panarin and Mika Zibanejad, and obviously one of the best goaltenders in the league. The Islanders played the Rangers a couple weeks ago. Islanders end up winning that game 2-0, but Igor Shesterkin, both goalies, who are friends, by the way, best of friends, they spent Christmas together, Igor Shesterkin and Ilya Sorokin, put on an absolute show. Shesterkin was really good. It's just Sorokin was a little bit better, and the Islanders were able to net a few. But they're still getting the elite play out of their elite goaltender, Tom, and there's still a lot of talent there. We'll see if they trade any of their blue chip players, their stars, and Panarin and Zibanejad. But my resolution for the New York Rangers is give it time. Do not completely sell out. Do not get rid of Artemi Panarin and blow this whole thing up. I understand that they're a really bad 5-on-5, one of the worst teams in hockey in that department, and their power play is not exactly where it needs to be either. So things do need to change, but it's the first year under a legendary coach who spent almost as much time in Pittsburgh as one Mike Tomlin did, who is no longer there after 19 years of coaching football. And Mike Sullivan, he almost spent that much time. He won a few Stanley Cups with the Pittsburgh Penguins. So preach patience the rest of this year, and you're not out of it yet. It's not completely over. Not all hope is lost with the nature of the NHL right now. So hold on to hope is my resolution for the Rangers. And I know a lot of Ranger fans, if you're listening, probably disagree. They want to blow it up or ready to go into destruction mode, but I would not be ready to go there right now if I'm the Rangers. I'll play out the year.
Yeah, I was gonna say something similar, like, the phrase "don't get too high" or "don't get too low." I think the Rangers shouldn't get too low in this case because
Right.
even though they haven't been playing great, I think in 2026 their resolution should just be to play one game at a time because, like you said, they are a very talented team. So if they play one game at a time and don't get too low, they could slowly get back in there because in the beginning of the season we were talking about the Rangers as one of the best teams when they were hot. Now and they couldn't get too high then. Now that they're cold and cooled off, can't get too low now, especially with the divisions being so close. Even though they're in last, they're really not that far behind everyone else, and it is a long season, so it would be foolish to give up yet. So just for the resolution, just one game at a time.
One game at a time for the Rangers. New York hockey, New York basketball, New York baseball. We broke it all down. Now let's talk about our miserable New York football teams. And we're going to lead off with the Jets. Tommy and you were great friends, and we met each other freshman year of high school at St. Dominic High School on Ansta Street in Oyster Bay. And something that we immediately connected with and became great friends through was our love of the New York football Jets. And the New York football Jets are one of the most fascinating teams in football right now. And a lot of people out there had a lot of fun on social media on Friday night when Dante Moore laid an absolute egg and looked terrible. And everybody going, oh, he already looks like a Jet quarterback. Well, please shut up. I don't want to hear it. We already got made fun of enough throughout this regular season. I'll lead off with you as far as your resolution. You can tell me a little bit about how you feel about this prospective draft class, the quarterback situation. So many things need to be resolved. Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn had their end-of-season press conference a few days ago, and I'll sum it up by saying this. I loved everything I heard out of Darren Muji's mouth. He sounded like the first-year GM who has done a lot, who's made a lot of nice peripheral moves on the side and little signings and little trades. And I hated what I heard from the head coach, who had an abysmal 3-14 year and showed nothing that he deserves to come back for another year. Tom, we'll lead off with you. What's your resolution? Go.
Before I get into the resolution, is there any word on the Oregon quarterback, whether he declared or not? Because I'm pretty sure he had to do that by today, right?
Dante Moore? Well, There was news yesterday that they got a quarterback. The Nebraska kid transferred over there.
So he's probably going to declare,
kind of an indication that. And by the way, listen, Dante Moore, I'm Googling it right now. We have to see.
Because this kind of matters for my resolution.
It doesn't look. Nope. 8 hours ago, still weighing in. Huh.
That's interesting. For some reason, I thought he had to declare
it's coming soon, Tom. Like in the next few days, we're going to know whether or not.
All right. Well, regardless, for my resolution for the New York Jets is to find your guy and go get him. Whoever you think it is, get him. Because we can get whoever we want. If you do not have a good quarterback in the National Football League, you will suck. I don't care who is on your team. I don't care if you miss every single draft pick. And I don't care if you get every single draft pick right and you mess up on the quarterback. You won't be good. So for Aaron Glenn, Muji, and all those guys, find your guy, weigh all your options, and go get him.
Yes, Dylan Raiola, by the way, is the kid who transferred from Nebraska to Oregon.
Wow.
So virtually it looks like Oregon already has their next quarterback in place if Dante Moore does indeed decide to declare. By the way, Jet fans, just something to know. about, and we could talk more about the Jets in future episodes and make these predictions and whatever. Mainly focus on this resolution here and wrap up. Whether you like Dante Moore or not, and I know that the overwhelming majority of Jet fans, especially just casual college football fans like myself who are really not that into it and watch these kids week to week. We watch them in the big games. Now we're obviously heavily invested because we're looking for a quarterback and this kid's out here. But you don't pay too much attention as to what's happening week to week with these guys. So first of all, let's not throw in this kid's entire reputation and his profile off of one game. There was a whole body of work for Dante Moore that went into the season, and a reason as to why he's being discussed as the number 2 overall pick. He definitely has some tangible skills and attributes to his game. He's mobile. His arm is certainly alive. There are some positives to Dante Moore's game. So let's, not completely bury the kid. Acknowledge that there was a whole body of work that got him to this status. And also, no matter how you feel about him, if what I just said doesn't change your perspective, no, he stinks, I don't want him. Okay, fine. But him declaring is a good thing for the Jets no matter what, because even if they decide that he's not the guy, maybe another organization, a la the Arizona Cardinals or the Cleveland Browns, decides that they love him and they want to give us even more assets, and we can even get richer in the asset department if they so decide that they want to trade up to the number 2 pick, and we could fall down, yada, 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 and then get a quarterback in the later rounds or with a later first-round pick. So it is a good thing no matter what if Dante Moore declares. Because we have our quarterback and Darren Muji, like you said, they identify that he's the guy and he falls right into our lap, so there you go. Or we retain more assets. So it's not a bad thing no matter what. So no Jet fans better be like, oh, good, I don't want him anyway if he goes back to school. No, we want him to declare in spite of anything. So something to keep in mind. It's really not that hard of an equation to wrap your mind around. Right? I mean, who would disagree with that?
Yeah, no, I think that's a great point, Matt. I agree.
Okay, resolution. There are so many.
Go ahead, pick one. You got a lot to choose from.
Yeah, you got a lot to choose from. Starting with maybe get an interception in 2026. You could say that.
All right, let's wrap up.
Oh, Tom.
I don't want to talk about that.
Tom, let's just say. I won't go any further, and I don't need to then throw you this statistic. They've been tracking interceptions in the National Football League, or really stats, since 1933. Not one team over the course of football history from that pinnacle point forward has ever gone a full year without an interception. The least was 3.
Till the New York Jets.
A terrible game on Saturday. Quavion Mitchell by himself had 2. This is just not normal football. I'm not going to make that my resolution. And by the way, Tom, I'm watching the last game of the year, the Bills game with my dad, and we're on the couch. And literally up until the clock hit 000, my dad was saying the entire time, they're going to get one. And we didn't want them to get one because we wanted the stench of that horrible stat to encompass the season. We didn't want it, but my dad's like, they're just going to get one. It's going to be work. Obviously, the game was well over. They blew us out 37-8. But my dad's like, they will not go into the offseason with that. And Aaron Glenn is going to hold his hat on that. Of course, I'm glad they didn't do it because they deserve that. And it's a great representation of what a joke, a complete disgrace the defense was this year. So
bad.
Well deserved. But my resolution, and I liked yours as far as, because I agree with that, as my opinion on Dante Moore is negligible. I don't know enough about it. I'm not in the film room. I'm not a scout. I'm just a talking head on a podcast. So I may like him. I may like his ability thread the needle over the middle of the field. I may like his ability to evade the rush and get out of the pocket. But the scouts know this. So if Darren Muji and Aaron Glenn and the big wigs over there at One Jets Drive decide that he's good enough to be a starting quarterback in the NFL, that's good enough for me. So I like your resolution right there. I think it's a very valid one. And if they like Dante Moore and they think he's the guy, yes, go and get him if he so decides to declare. And my inkling would be that he would, honestly. I mean, he'll make a lot more money declaring than if he goes back to another year at school. I know NIL is through the roof, but This is a good
We're
situation
talking
for
top
him.
pick in the NFL draft.
Yeah, financially, it just makes a lot more sense for him to declare. But my resolution, and this is a unique one, like I said, a lot of different directions that you could go, but capitalize on free agency. And this is a tough free agency class, Tom. It's not a great one. Not a really lot of big names waiting out there. Not a lot of big skill position names. But there are so many positions, particularly on defense, on this New York Jets roster, that are gaping holes that need to be addressed. Go get Quentin Lake from LA. Go get Alec Pierce, who's the Colts wide receiver.
Alec Pierce, yeah.
Go get Alan Pierce from the Colts.
He's good.
Go get that linebacker, Chan, I'm forgetting his name, the white linebacker from Kansas City. Like, go make and I trust Aaron Mughi because, like I said, when we started with the Jets, he's done such a superb job with the marginal moves that he's made. Getting Jarvis Brownlee for a day 3 pick, acquiring Juwan Briggs. He raved about him in the press conference. Done a lot of really quality work, but go make some quality free agent signings here. Don't miss on them. I think it's really important. Dealing with a lot of cap. I think $106 million in cap. It's over 100. So pretty damn good for the Jets. And use it wisely. And I trust Aaron Mughi to do it. I think we're in good hands as far as that goes. The coach we can talk about another time. I don't think he deserves to come back for another year. That's a whole nother conversation. All right, Tom. This is a seminal moment right now, these days for the New York Giants, isn't it? They're going to be hiring their head coach.
You got to pick a coach.
They got to pick a coach, and my resolution's simple. Get it done, i.e. John Harbaugh. John Harbaugh there, I think that they're dancing on the other side of the same room right now. I think there's some mutual romance between the two parties, and I do think that ultimately it will get done. But if you're the Giants, when this guy walks through the building for his formal interview, I seriously would do everything in my power if I'm Amara or Steve Tisch, whoever the other big wigs over there are. Do not let this guy leave the building without being your next head coach, without being your guy to lead Jackson Dart and this team that's poised to go from 4 wins to 10 wins. Don't let him walk out of the building. He's your guy. Give him what he wants. I think he'll be willing to work with Joe Shane. There's been reports he wants his GM. I think he can make it work with Joe. I would be shocked if he said Joe has to leave. So go get Harbaugh, and you're in a pretty good position. You know why? Because you have your quarterback. And in the NFL, you don't go anywhere without that. And at least my indication on Jackson Dart is that he's the freaking dude. And all you got to do is get this coach, man. And if you can retain Kafka as OC too, great. Because I think Kafka's a really good play caller. Obviously not a coach. He showed that in his intern time with the Giants. A lot of questionable decisions that he made, time management-wise, etc. But go get John Harbaugh. That's my resolution for the Giants.
Yeah, I think I actually agree on that one. I was going to say practically the same thing. I was listening to something today where Dable actually called Harbaugh and said, go get that job. And when you interview them, go there. Because Dable wanted the guy who drafted Jackson Dart to be in the best position possible to succeed in the NFL, and that's who he thinks is the best guy. That's who I think is the best guy, and that's who you think is the best guy. And I know that, and I truly believe that Harbaugh does think that he can make Jackson Dart even better than he is. So, I mean, when a coach that just got fired, who I'm not going to say if he should have gotten fired or not, but a coach that got fired is telling another coach to go get that job to help out his quarterback, that's kind of how you know, like, Dart's the real deal, and Harbaugh can really take the him and the Giants to the next level. So I think you couldn't have said it better, and I would 100% agree. Go get him.
Get it done. Get it done. That's what it's all about right now. Obviously, if you're not aware, but not you, I'm sure you are, but if our audience is not aware, now John Harbaugh is a great coach. I think 13 playoff appearances in 18 years with the Baltimore Ravens. I mean, just one of the longest tenures that you're going to see over the course of history. Tomlin, We won't talk about that, but obviously huge news coming out today with Mike Tomlin stepping down after 19 years as the head coach of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Crazy.
Listen, there was rumblings about it all year. We heard in like week 6 or 7. I did it again. Holy shit. I must have like some subconscious thing where I just keep running into it. But anyway.
Yeah, who cares?
Who cares? Whatever it was, I'll say week 5 or 6, probably week 7 or 8. The Steelers got off to like a 4-2 start. No, they were six. No. It was much later than this. So it was when they were 6-6.
It was like
the
week
Fire
12.
Tomlin chants started breaking out in Pittsburgh. So there was rumblings about him being let go if they get absolutely ran over by the by the Texans in the first round of the wild card, which is exactly what happened. They laid a goose egg. They put up 6 points. They looked terrible. They got ran over. So his future with the Steelers was immediately in question, but I don't think anybody had him resigning on their bingo card, virtually stepping down out of the role. Major shock as far as that news went. But just a few hours later, after that, he had reported that he's going to be taking a little bit of a break from coaching. So for any Giant fan that's under the assumption that they're going to go after Mike Tomlin now, that's not going to happen. He's either going to, hit the rest and relax button for a year or go into broadcasting. I really think he'll be a great fit in broadcasting, and he'll probably do that, whether that be in the studio or up in the booth. I don't really know. So we'll see what happens as far as that goes with Tomlin, and if he makes a return one day or if he's officially done. But getting back to Harbaugh real quick, Tommy, it just makes perfect sense. The Giants have been thirsting for a leader in that building for such a long time, probably since Mike Tomlin decided that his days since Mike Tomlin got abruptly fired by the Mara family. Shouldn't really say abruptly. Times hit tough. Had a great run there. They let him go. He goes to the Jacksonville front office. But there has not been a leader of men in that building. It has been a laughingstock of a carousel with frickin' from Ben McAdoo to Pat Shermer, and the list obviously goes on and on. Now they have an opportunity to bring in a CEO type guy. That's the phrase that keeps getting thrown around in regards to John Harbaugh. He is a CEO, a master of his craft. Special teams background, so that's why I mentioned the significance of bringing in the right OC. Man, this just went through my head. Wouldn't it be some twist if they brought back Brian Dable as an offensive coordinator?
Oh my gosh, that would be insane.
Highly unlikely. Dable.
I don't even think Dable would want to do it after the Giants just fired him. But he is a great offensive coordinator.
He's been speaking very fondly, as you said. I didn't know that report specifically that he called Harbaugh, but apparently Dable's been talking about the Giants' head coaching job, with other people around the league and speaking very fondly of it and the organization and everything, and how it's a prime job to get and maybe the best in the market. So yes, John Harbaugh, perfect fit for them, but yeah, still integral to bring in the right OC, whether that's trying to retain Kafka or maybe going after Mike McDaniel. I don't know if that perfectly fits Jackson Dart's play style, but because he's more of like a track meet kind of OC where the guys are in motion and running around all over. I think Jackson Dart needs to be honed in a little bit, so we'll see about that. But yes, that's it. It's simple as that. Get it done. Meet the demands of Mr. Harbaugh. Tom, dude, we went over an hour. We did it again. Great episode, as always.
Awesome, man. Had a blast.
I always thank you for coming on. This is obviously such a special episode, near and dear to my heart, because it's a New York Sports Take OG. And I want to thank our audience. If you're still here with us, thank you.
Let's
I know
go.
This one's a little late. We're 2 weeks into the new year. I don't know. Everybody has their own personal policy on when it's time to stop saying Happy New Year to other people. It's probably over by now for the
Happy New Year to anyone listening.
But Happy New Year to you. I don't know if that pisses you off at this point or whatever the case may be. But thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of the New York Sports Take. We will see you next time.
Let's go.